Sometimes a home doesn't sell because the market is slow, but sometimes it doesn't sell because the wrong promises were made from the very beginning. And when that happens, the house sits there, week after week, no showings, no offers, and no momentum. What most people don't realize is once a home sits like that, the situation actually becomes harder to fix. I've seen this happen more times than you might think. One example that stands out started with a conversation I had with a homeowner who was interviewing agents to list their property. That's actually becoming more common now. Sellers are doing their homework, they're meeting with multiple agents, asking questions, trying to decide who they trust to handle something as important as selling their home. I sat down with them and walked through everything I normally do when pricing a home. Pricing is something I take very seriously. I spend a lot of time analyzing the market, looking at comparable properties, understanding what buyers are responding to right now, and thinking through what it's going to take to position a home like this property. I share my honest thoughts about the price, the presentation of the home, and the strategy that I believe will get it sold. It was a great conversation, but in the end, they decided to go with another agent. Honestly, that happens sometimes. Another agent came in, promised a higher price, talked about how quickly they could get it sold, and leaned heavily on the name of their brokerage. When sellers hear that kind of confidence, they can be very tempting. Everyone wants to believe that their home will sell for more money and faster than expected. The problem is that the market doesn't respond to promises. It responds to reality. So the home went on the market, and then something frustrating happened. It sat there, and it kept sitting there, week after week with no traction at all, no showings, not even someone coming through the open house. That's a tough position for any seller to be in. Eventually, the homeowners called me back. They had canceled their listing and wanted to talk again. Situations like that can be difficult because now the home has this history attached to it. Buyers notice how long something has been sitting on the market. They start wondering what's wrong with it. Even if the home itself is perfectly fine, the perception has already started working against it. So when I stepped in, the challenge was actually bigger than it would have been in the very beginning. We had to reset everything. The first thing we had to do was go back to the fundamentals. We looked at the price again, we evaluated the presentation of the home, we reviewed how the property was being marketed and how buyers were actually going to see it now. And just as importantly, I had another honest conversation with the sellers. No big promises, no unrealistic expectations, just the truth about the market and what needed to change if buyers wanted to start paying attention again. To their credit, they listened. Once we adjusted the strategy and repositioned the home the right way, things started moving again immediately. In the first week after listing the property, we had an offer. Not only that, we had a strong traffic through the open house. Buyers were coming through again. The energy around the property had completely changed, and what had felt stuck suddenly had momentum. And that's really the key difference. When the strategy is right, buyers feel it. The pricing makes sense. The presentation creates confidence. The marketing actually reaches the right people. When those pieces come together, the process starts to move the way it's supposed to. What the situation taught the sellers was something that I think a lot of homeowners eventually discover. The most valuable thing an agent can bring to the table is honesty. It's easy for someone to promise the highest price or the fastest sale. Those words sound great in a listing appointment. If those promises aren't grounded in the reality of the market, they can actually make the situation worse later on. Because when a home launches at the wrong price or with the wrong strategy, the market notices, buyers notice. And once momentum is lost, it takes real work to get it back. And that's why my approach has always been a little different. I don't make big promises. Instead, I focus on building a clear plan from beginning to end, a plan based on experience, data, and realistic understanding of what buyers are looking for. When sellers hear the truth early, it gives them the chance to position their home correctly from day one. And when that happens, everything becomes easier. The home attracts the right attention. Showings happen, offers come in, and the process moves forward the way it should. At the end of the day, real estate isn't about making the biggest promises. It's about delivering real results. Sometimes that means having honest conversations that aren't always easy to hear. But those conversations are often what protects sellers from bigger problems later on. If you're thinking about selling your home or even just trying to understand what your options might look like in today's market, having that honest conversation early can make a huge difference. And if you want more insights like this about what really happens behind the scenes in real estate, make sure to subscribe and stick around. There's a lot more to this process than most people realize.